over the basic principles of an ellipse. Basically, the ellipses we see are round things like this, which if you, I don't know if I can actually move this arrow. No, I can't move. Oh, yes, I can. I can move it now. See how it's, no, I can't. Anyway, it has, you know, whichever way you put this arrow on the circular thing is going to be the same distance across. It has one diameter, okay? But when you look at it at an angle, it's on a horizontal surface. As you can see, it has a horizontal axis which is longer than the vertical axis. They're no longer exactly the same length. It becomes more obvious, and it becomes more obvious when I look at a sharper angle, which is closer to my line of sight, if you think about it. You see, it's quite clear now that the horizontal axis is much longer than the vertical axis. That's obvious, right? Mm-hmm. It's also true that it remains that way however you move. Like I walked around the table and took this one. And you see, again, it has a horizontal axis this way and a vertical axis this way. If a circle is on a horizontal table, it always has a horizontal long axis. It's important to remember. It's not angled at all unless the table itself is angled. It's tilted. You see here is the same dish on a tilted surface, and notice now that the long axis is exactly parallel to the tilted surface, right? You can see it back here. It's parallel to this. Does that make sense so far? Yeah. So yeah. If you do an ellipse on a table is tilted, it means either the table's tilted or the object is being lifted up on one side or the other. Okay. So how does one draw an ellipse? One measures the vertical axis of whatever one's looking at and puts it down on the canvas, and then measures the horizontal axis and puts it down on the canvas, and then draws an ellipse around it. Okay? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's all there is. But just so, because people, this concept is very hard for people to grasp, I thought that I would do this. We're looking at a bunch of glasses, one inside the other. And notice that the circular elements in the glasses, the circle is steepest here, gets narrower till when we reach eye level, the bottom of this glass inside the other one is a straight line. And then the curves start to increase in the opposite direction. To show you exactly what I mean, I traced it. Here's our eye level. Here's the circles below our eye level and the circles above our eye level. Okay? So when you look at anything circular, first, is it at eye level? Is it above or below eye level? And how far is it? And that's going to affect the size of the vertical axis. Okay? This axis over here. Any questions?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Like I've tried, like, because I sketch a lot, like street scenes and car tires, or are those no longer ellipses? I can never get.
Well, the rim is certainly an ellipse unless you're looking at it
Yeah.
straight on. If you're looking
Okay.
at any angle, it's an ellipse. Yes.
And then, oh, go ahead, sorry.
And if you're looking at it, you know, you've got to realize what angle are you looking at it. It's actually it's a vertical circle, so it's actually going to have a long axis that's vertical. And the short axis is going to be horizontal, right? It's like you tilted one of these like this. And, but of course, the bottom of the tire isn't, I mean, it's an ellipse that has a flat bottom.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But,
Okay.
yeah, it follows basically the same rules, except it's vertical rather than horizontal.
Okay. Okay.
It's just, yeah, okay. So that's ellipses, which are kind of a special case of perspective, actually, if you think about it, but a very confounding one for most people. Which is why I thought it would be good to go through this. And if you know, you can set up exercises just using a plate or glasses if you need to rehearse this. Okay, now general perspective, which only applies to, it applies mostly to buildings and objects with straight and parallel edges. It doesn't apply to everything. But here we're looking at a box straight on. And then, and so the eye, my eye was somewhere, my head was somewhere like here. You can kind of see where my head was. Head was somewhere here, my eyes. Then I moved my head, moved over to the right. And you see how these lines all converge on a point. The top edge, the bottom edge, and this tape, which is running parallel to them, converge on a point. That point is where my eyes were. That's the vanishing point. Okay, we'll go into this further in a minute. But, well, if I move my head further over, further to the right, you see, I've now moved my head from here over to here. Now, I'm looking straight ahead. So these two, the top and the bottom of the box remain parallel to one another because I'm just moving this way and looking this direction, okay? If I turn the box, it's the same thing. This is what happened. And you can see there's a vanishing point somewhere over here. There's also one over here, which I couldn't put in the photograph. So I did a tracing on a large piece of paper. That's what's happening now. Okay, notice that everything is converging on this particular line here. Can you see it? Can you see my cursor?
No.
No, okay, just a second. Yeah, the all of them are converging on this line. That's the horizon line because that's the height of my head. But because the object is turned like this, there are two vanishing points. So this is the other one that we showed earlier was single, you know, 1 point perspective. This is 2 point perspective because there's one vanishing point here and there's another vanishing point over here. Okay. If you have something that's very tall and you want to represent its tallness, you actually have another vanishing point high up there somewhere. And this, as it goes up, the line on the right and the left converge at some vanishing point high in the sky. But we don't want to get into that. That's 3 point perspective, and that gets very confusing. But that basically is, in a nutshell, a simple presentation on perspective. Questions? It's all pretty clear to everyone?
Until I do it.
No, it's not very clear, but you know, you could probably explain it to me a million times and I still don't get it.
Okay, what isn't clear?
I mean, I don't even know what kind of questions to ask right now. Yeah, I know that when I did that drawing of the house, of that apartments,
Yeah.
the painting I did last week. Yeah, there was a vanishing point there somewhere that you were telling me about that there.
Yeah.
That there was.
Well, it was turned a little bit away in both. It was a little like this, but this side was turned away much more than the right side was turned away much. The right side was turned away much more than the left side. So, you know, the vanishing points would have been very different than this. But look, imagine that this surface here, this is a flat surface, right? With parallel lines, with a parallel top and a parallel bottom.
Uh-huh.
Imagine that that's a road turned on its side, which just continues. As it goes away from you, it's going to do that, isn't it? It's going to have to get smaller. And this one, if this was a road turned on its side or a wall, would do the same thing, right? And the point at which they vanish is the point at which is on the line that it goes through your eyes, because as you move your head up, everything changes. As you move your head down, everything changes. Your head establishes the horizon line. That's why, and in these two instances, because of these two instances, because I didn't move my head up or down, I moved my whole head to the right. And as I did, the vanishing point shifted. See? Mm-hmm. Right? That's where my eye was looking. But this is something that we can talk about forever. Once you've got a sense of it in your mind, you have to just keep doing drawings of things that have perspective in them to get used to it, and you have to kind of absorb and internalize this. Is Julie there? I guess she's never arrived, huh?
I don't think so.
And have we lost Cassandra? Looks like we lost Cassandra.
No, I'm here. I just
I'm
having bandwidth issues, so I'd rather get rid of my video to make sure the recording is clean.
The recording is clean. Okay. Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. Well, that's basically it for what I had to say about issues that people